My question is really for each of you. We'll start with Mr. Tilley, and I always ask the question on how, particularly in a lot of these programs through the SBC, how you found out about it. And Mr. Tilley, you can speak specifically to that. Some of you have members, obviously you can speak to, or what your experience is talking to other folks, but I would very much be curious on either how you learned about the program or how others did, or what we can do to improve that, obviously. Mr. Tully?
This was our first time, any of the founders, through the process, so we weren't really quite sure how to go and get it done. We just knew that we had to do a lot of things, and it was tough to get financing right now, so how can we look for alternate ways than we would normally do. We actually went and hired a consultant that had done this before, and paid him $5,000, and he went out there and searched the different agencies that would be applicable for us, and he came up with the EPA and the National Science Foundation, and then we just went through the process.
Standridge?
Yeah, I had accepted a job at Indiana University about 12, 13 years ago. When I arrived on campus, the Vice President for External Research, Jeff Alberts, wanted to meet me, and I thought he'd ask me how was the move in the schools. I couldn't get him to shut up about what he kept talking about, this SBIR thing. He's a psychology professor. He tests, he makes cages for animals that they now do up in the space shuttle and space station and so on. And in order to do his research at NASA, he was told he had to start a company. He started the SBIR, and he just had received Phase 2 funding. And he subsequently employed, I don't know, dozens and dozens of people. And it was really hearing him is what keyed me how important the SBIR is, because it's making entrepreneurs out of very capable scientists and engineers, really changing the career trajectories.
Galante?
RMD has been involved in the program since the very beginning of the program. The company was founded in 1974, and you asked the question. I remember a conversation where the president of the company came to me and said, "There's this new program, SBIR. Do you think we ought to participate?" We looked at it and said, "Sure, why not?" But I assume we learned about it through the Commerce Business Daily in those days. No electronic communication then.
Yeah, Ms. Rigg?
As I mentioned in my remarks, Parkinson's disease is not particularly attractive necessarily to large pharmas because the population is considered relatively small. 1 million people have Parkinson's, and a brain disease is very complicated and high risk. And so not just about SBIR, but we've been very focused as an organization and a community on the Valley of Death, where basic discoveries, therapeutic potential is not necessarily explored, and there isn't a great deal of private money. So in looking at all those challenges for our disease as well as others, you can't help but see the SBIR program. Some companies have received SBIR grants for Parkinson's therapies, but it is certainly one of the components for trying to traverse that dreadful valley of death and get something to the point where the larger pharma will pick it up and run with it.
Well, it's always a challenge, obviously, and there's some great opportunities out there for small businesses, but it's always a challenge, getting the information out there and so that they know what opportunities are out there.